Hey guys, welcome back. This is Brian from Echo1 USA, and this is my tech support video showing the lower part of the Echo1 XCR and basically how to take it apart and some little tips and tricks. Okay, let's just plug it in and see its wonderful two-piece design. You have semi-auto, full auto, back to semi, and safe. Gun does not fire, but just how the trigger is with its space allotted. No room to make a locking trigger, but the gun will not fire, so it's still safe. Let's go ahead and take off the stock. You guys are probably curious about the Mad Bull M4 buffer tube stock you saw at SHOT Show we had. Still waiting on that product from Mad Bull. They want to make their products perfect, just like all the other products, so it'll be worth the wait. Screw down here controls the push tab button. Screw right here controls the pivot. You can loosen it to make it stiffer or looser, depending on what you want to do. This screw's there just for looks. So let's go ahead and take this off real quick. Take off that screw. It won't come off. We'll take off this other one. Basically, the two screws hold it in place. I've noticed a lot of people will take off this screw or modify this part and have the wire run out to the rear to the battery bag. That's pretty cool. Also, there's a hole down here if you want to wire it out through there. It's a little more tricky, but I've seen that as well. You have to modify the stock as well. But then for the buffer tube, I believe that'll be incorporated because they'll change out this part. So I'll keep you posted. Okay, let's take off the grip now. It's a 2mm 2mm. Here's your motor height adjustment. Just tap it out. It comes out. And notice the black wire on this side, red wire on this side, just because the grip is so thin. There's only so much space allotted for the wires around the motor, which is fine. It's not like a traditional M4, but it still works perfect. Here is the motor. You have a small spring, the collar, and let's compare it to a long like M4 XCR. If you look at them, you have a long motor. XCR is the middle, same like some of the other models out there, and then like the AK would be a super short where there's no collar at all. Put that to the side. Take off the two Phillips screws, kind of like an M4 pistol grip. Take off the grip, wiggle it out, put it to the side. Okay, now to remove the lower part of the gearbox, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 2mm Allen screws, and then one 2.5. And if you want to take apart the lower hop-up unit, you can. There's one screw here as well. You can replace that entire unit. And you don't need to take it apart like on an M4, how you have to take off the lower hop-up unit. It's all separate. Also, you don't have to take off the bolt release or the mag release, so it doesn't have to really get in your way. Okay. I always apply even pressure on the selector switch because there's a small spring on there. You do have to take it out. It pops up. You have a small Allen screw, the selector switch with a little spring, and the small ball bearing. So you don't want to lose those. Put it aside. There's a little grease on there already. Stick the bearing on there just so it doesn't roll away. Check for all the screws, you got it out. Slide up and out, good to go. Okay, now with this, you can check it out. You can go, oh, shiny, and put it aside. And just stare at its glory later. Okay, selector plate made out of steel. Same functions as other selector plates for an M4 version 2, but it just looks different. You have the cutoff lever. You have the little part that works with the selector switch, slides back and forth. You have the space for aftermarket bearings, which is pretty sweet. Okay, let's take off the cutoff lever. You have one, styrofoam. You have one Phillips screw. Take that off. Small spring. Put that aside. Okay, now for the trigger. If you look at it, you're going to see the same little ramp like you see for a version 2 wire harness. Same concepts, but just different space and shapes. Okay, you're going to notice on this 2mm screw right here, a piece of plastic in the way, kind of lean it back just a little, just lean back, and you can remove that screw. I just press on the trigger just a smidge to flex it just a little. It's okay. Okay, once you take that screw up, you can just wiggle it out. Notice how this part slides in there. Pretty simple. Let's put this aside for right now. Okay, now you're probably curious, oh, that's not a regular wire harness. Well, you can add a MOSFET. You have 2 red wires, trigger, same concept. And if you want to do any aftermarket parts or change out the contact plates, you can. I was looking at mine and I looked at it, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, it's not that different. You can take out these 2 little screws right here and the plate, and now your wires are here. The main unit's here, kind of like an E90, which is pretty cool, easier to work on. But if you look at these trigger switches, it's very similar to like a regular M4 M16 wire harness. The one on the left is basically the same. The one on the right, all I have to do is cut a little here and it'll work fine. So, we do have spare parts. If you check down here in the description, you will see links to the Echo1 USA part shop with all the XCR parts. There's about 21 or so in stock as we speak. So you can go ahead and check that out. But it's just a little side note. Like say if you wanted to run different contact plates for your own favorite wire harness. So you can put that aside and check that out later. Let me go ahead and show you how this looks on the outside before you take it apart. You can pull a trigger. You have one sliding part here, the spring, one more Phillips screw here. For the sides, you have 2 small Phillips, and here you have one long one, as shown. Hold on to the triggers a little, pop this part up. This part is a sliding contact, kind of like you see in a version 2. It's a little different, the same concept. You have a spring pushing on the back and down so it doesn't rock or anything when you're doing a lot of semi-auto. And then also on the other side you have a small loose part, slides back and forth, and the spring there. And the trigger. So what I'm going to do is basically put it back together real quick, just for this video, just to show, take it apart, how to, and get you back on the field in case you want to go out and have fun. Okay, press it back together, it goes together really easy. Notice there's no gaps in the seam. Okay, let me put the longer screw here. Okay, good to go. The trigger can pull easy. Let me go ahead and put in the wires. Just slide it in. And I was looking at my XCR and everybody on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook under Brian Holt. It's my personal page. So it's airsoft and just everything in general. So it could be quite entertaining if you like humorous stuff. If not, oh well. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back together. But I was looking at mine, and a lot of people, like when the XCR came out, there's a friend of mine named Mike, I forgot his last name, starts with an S, a couple other people, and I believe one of the refs that works at Godfather, he was saying, hey, I want to put a MOSFET in. Put a MOSFET in yours, show everybody. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do that probably in the next video, I believe. The next time I'm going to take my gun, how I already put in the bearings, the different motor and everything, and show you what I did to change out the motor. So that'll be another video coming up soon. A lot of people ask about that, but it's just really busy lately. So I hear you guys. Time is the only thing stopping me. But go ahead and take out these 2 screws. This part slides out. You can see the reversal latch in here in case you wanted to release the reversal latch and the bevel gear, but there's no real spring tension, so it doesn't really matter right now. Take out this last screw on the top. Okay, it pops up, and you notice there's the inside part of the shell. You have the sector gear with sector clip already installed, which is pretty sweet. Little spring on there for the auto shim. Bevel gear, reversal latch, standard version 2. Slightly different spring, a little bent, but other than that, it's just to make it fit in here. Here's the spur gear, the little spring function. And notice a nice little ring of grease on there from the auto shim. Really great feature. Okay, let me go ahead and put this back together real quick. Drop this in. And what's really cool about this is if you're working on your gun, you have like a brand new gear set and you want to put it together and shim it and everything, you can do that in a matter of minutes without taking it all apart, putting it all back together. Because you can just have the lower part of the shell in your hands like so, with your bearings and all your special shim settings and your new gear set, and you'll be good to go. Much faster, easier to work on, and easier to grease too. It's kind of like the Mad Bull Taurus gearbox. You guys might want to check that out. Very strong for the version 2. Okay, let me go ahead and pop this back on. Slides in place like that. Very simple. Screws there, remember, slide it back just a little. I don't know if you can see that with my thumb. I just press like that and tighten it down. Goes back in place. Pull the trigger. Make sure it's not like in the way. If it's not seated all the way, you won't be able to pull the trigger. Okay, now let's put the cutoff lever back in. The little spring goes here, like that. Small Phillips screw on the top. Tighten it down. Pull on it. Make sure you can move it freely. Double check the trigger. Okay, it's good to go. Notice how the wire will go through like this. You have a little channel. Sorry. Yeah. You have a little channel here. Then you have another one on this side for the red wire, and it drops down for the black wire. Very streamlined. This one is just kind of floating there. It's good to go. So when I'm working on mine, I just kind of hold it like this, grab the selector plate, drop it in right there. It's good to go. Okay, let me go ahead and double check. Okay, wires are good. Grab the lower part of the body, drop it down, and kind of just wiggle it down, and good. Now, it's not seating correctly because this little red wire, when I was scooting it down, kind of jumped out of place. Don't worry. Simple way to check is either look at this line up here or the holes here. So just raise it up a bit, push the red wire up, and check the black wire. Okay, just kind of wiggle this one and this one. Black wires here, red wires through here. You know, I can see clean through. Oh, bad example, but smaller. I can see clean through. Put the little pick through there. Everything's lined up. So let me go ahead and put the screws back in. Just tighten them down a little, just to line it up before I actually crank down on those screws. Just to hold it in place. Okay. And don't forget the 2 screws in the back part. Okay, good to go. You can spin it back. Can't spin it forward because reversal latch is in there. And we put the selector in. Now, if you look at the selector, you're going to see for the selector plate you have a little notch cut out. And that obviously works with the little tab sticking up on this part. So what I'm going to do is just kind of line it up and go, okay, it looks like it's going to be on semi-auto function, which will be in the center. So I put the bearing there. Press down on the spring. Be careful it doesn't like pop out to the side or anything. Just kind of hold it in place. Oh, magnets. Okay. Tighten it down. Now pop up a little. Tighten a little more. And if you tighten too much, or not too much, but if you tighten like a regular screw, you're going to notice you can't turn it. So what we want to do is back it out just a little. So now you can turn it. Recommended that once you take it apart, because they're already like brand new from the factory, there is a little ring of Loctite on there. I would highly recommend putting a little bit of Loctite on there, just because you only work with a limited amount of threads, and you'll be good to go. Okay, so I have screws, screws, screws. Forgot to tighten these. Let me tighten it down real quick. Okay. Drop this pistol grip back in. Also notice how the top of the grip is. Line it up, pop it in. Also another cool feature is the nice metal threading in the grip. A lot of people will over tighten the plastic threads and strip it out. It's not the gun's fault, it's just being too rough with it, but this is much better for you guys, for your hardcore airsofters. Drop this in. Try to have the black wire on this quadrant, or this side, compared to this side. Just otherwise you have to like snake it backwards. This makes it a little easier. Press it in, make sure it's good to go. Red wire is a little longer. Zigzag it like so. Good to go. Drop this in. One screw. Press down. Also make sure it's flush. I haven't tightened it down yet. I just pressed and it's somewhat flush. So that's a good sign. If you have to force parts of the airsoft gun, most likely you're doing something wrong. So just be careful. You can cause damage and break parts. Not really exerting too much force, but just tightening it when it's off at an angle. Okay, and that's basically how to take apart the lower. Put it back together real quick. Don't forget you can customize wire to the rear like some people have already done. There's already the hole back here, and the Mad Bull buffer tube should be coming out hopefully this year. Just waiting on their perfect products, like all their stuff they have. Yeah, Mad Bull. So this has been Brian from Echo1 USA, and thanks for watching.